Welcome back to our journey into Forever is the Soul. This week we were on chapter 17, which is titled Travelers in a Dream. And the subtitle is Time and Distance are illusions to the soul, but to the ego, they all too often become gods. Well, time and distance and dreams and illusions, are we all in a dream? Is this an illusion? Let's hear what Andrew has to say about this week's chapter. Enjoy.
Hello again. This week we're on to chapter 17, Travelers in a Dream. Time and distance are illusions to the soul, but to the ego, they all too often become gods. Love that. Time and distance are illusions to the soul. Okay, that's big. If you go to the soul and you recognize that what impairs us from seeing the soul is our egos, and our egos are biological in nature, and being that they're biological in nature, they're concerned about biological and natural things, where the soul, which is no longer confined to, well, as it pertains to the book, in death, it's no longer confined to the biology, which creates the veil that impairs the ego from truly seeing that reflection of itself without a physical body. So when I went into this chapter, and again, I don't want to give anything away, but I will say that there's a dream in this chapter, and it's a unique dream because like many dreams, it's timeless. It takes the participants of the dream into a timeless place within themselves where, as dreams will often let us do, we're sort of free from our biology or free from our algorithms, our normal patterns of thought and behavior and so on. So dreams can often be very symbolic. Symbolism is an interesting thing that evokes different thoughts, different feelings, different emotions that we might not necessarily have if we weren't in whatever the stimulus is that's giving us that. So time and distance are illusions to the soul. The soul is timeless, and I like the feeling of disorientation, meaning there's no orientation. There's no up, there's no down, there's no sideways or left or right. There's just consciousness. And I think that in the human form, we as humans, and I think that ultimately, I've talked a little bit about evolution as I've told these stories over the last 17 weeks, we're moving to a place where we can attuned to a consciousness that's very dreamlike. It's very free. You can do it through meditation. And I think a lot of the Zen masters and highly disciplined meditators over the hundreds and thousands of years have been able to go to this place, which is really quite timeless. And the experience is just simply an awareness of the moment as the moment presents itself to the conscious experience, which then becomes the conscious experience, and so on. But to the ego, this is, I can relate to this. I lived a lot of my life. I don't anymore. I live pretty much free, where consciousness is most of the time my own choosing. Every once in a while I go into what I call ego attacks, where I got all kinds of crazy stuff going on and reacting to it, and my consciousness is just completely filled with I call it physiological or psychological bibble babble. It's just algorithms just kicking up noise into my consciousness, which throws me all over the place, and I don't like it very much. So I've become very disciplined in learning how to breathe properly and how to, in a sense, just zone out, or I'll say to Elise, zen out. I'm in a zen space, don't bother me. Because time and distance are illusions to the soul, but to the ego, they all too often become gods. When we ran a company that had a lot of demands on us, our consciousness, both of us, was filled with the demands that were being transposed upon us by the structure that we had created. Our company is Trifocal Communications, 20 plus years marketing pharmaceuticals. At times we had many drugs that we're responsible for, plus staff, plus everything else that goes with running a company. I didn't have, maybe you can do it, but I didn't have the liberty to truly free my mind at that time, probably a lack of discipline. I would have thought that I was at peace. I would have thought that I was living a relatively stressful life, a stressless life, until I started to move away from the company and started to develop the Will to Heal project and some of the other things that I wanted to do, including writing. And de-stressing is just, it's a magical trip, because all of a sudden, what we're gods, and I use that metaphorically, obviously, when I say, but to the ego, to Andrew, time and distance all too often become gods. When you start to de-stress, it's kind of cool, it's magical, because it almost is just, it's almost alarming at first. I kind of went, whoa, it can't be like this, like I need to do something. And I'm talking, long periods of time when the brain is absolutely passive and relaxed, and consciousness is just kind of tripping. We're not supposed to be that. Come on, we're supposed to be doing something all the time. Time and distance are often become gods to the ego. And now it's been a few years, and as you people know, I've went through an illness which really forced me into slowing everything down and becoming quite Zen-like in a way. And I think that's where I encourage people to go. It's like value systems are such a strong algorithm. We're so programmed into, you need this, and I've gone about cars and boats and all kinds of stuff that I used to chase. I don't chase those things anymore, because what I value most is the clarity of consciousness as I experience consciousness, as my life or my soul presents whatever it is that I'm experiencing to me. And I love that feeling. I love to be able to get up in the morning and be free and allow myself to just let the day kind of take me rather than me take the day. And, the whole idea, seize the day. Well, wait a second, seize the day. What does that mean? Well, I got this huge agenda, all these things I got to do, I better seize it. As opposed to, oh, I'll just let it present itself to me. I do these videos pretty much every Wednesday, and I like doing my Wednesday videos. Are fun. I enjoy that. And once we get through the book, I'm going to do a whole other series called Group Consciousness Rising, which sort of pertains to sort of what I'm talking about. How do we get ourselves to a place where we're just free to be ourselves? I had to make a lot of rearrangements in order to be free. And I think a lot of us in our culture do need to rearrange ourselves. I used to live, economically, I needed at least $10,000 a month just to pay all the bills and kids and all that kind of stuff. And in my 40s and 50s, it really didn't matter much. I did that because that's what I needed to do. But I had a lot of gods there, a lot of demands on me that impaired me from being in this space. So, I think we are presented at times in life where we can write whatever script we want. I'm watching children, younger people than me, my kids, for example, who maybe even grew up watching mom and dad be quite ambitious or driven. And they're not as driven. They're much more holistic in their approach to life. Maybe they needed their souls manifested through us so that they could witness what I think will become a change for many people's lives. We're looking at different diets, veganism or vegetarianism, and just all these different things, looking at imprint. I have a son and daughter-in-law who are very tuned into, they call it upcycling, finding things that nobody values and making them into something. And I truly admire that. Whereas, 20 years ago, I just go buy something and I hate to admit it, but toss it, because the generation that I was raised up in saw everything as so disposable, so dispensable. And we know that's not right today. And so I'm seeing these massive changes taking place. And I think that now I do truly feel blessed that my greatest ambition right now is the joy of consciousness. What is my consciousness experiencing right now? Right now it's doing a camera thing. That's cool. My little dog's there, kind of crashed out, having a snooze. It's all good. Consciousness, peace. And that, as we've talked about in other videos, pacification of the limbic system, the left, the right hemispheres of the brain go into coherence, frontal cortex opens up, most of the noise that tells us to be this or that dissipates, and all of a sudden you're free. And it's from that freedom that I think that the inspiration, the ideas, the feelings of creativity move in and through you in a way that will ultimately bring greater peace than chase. I'm guilty of chase. I played chase for years and years and years. I'm really, really happy to say I don't play chase at all anymore. So those are my thoughts on travelers in a dream. And in a way, aren't we all travelers in a dream? You know, we're here. World's going to do what the world's going to do. We're all little fragments of the big, big picture. And we're trying to understand, I think most people on one level are trying to understand their place within it all. So here we are, travelers in a dream, learning to move beyond, what is it? My memory retention sucks sometimes. Where'd it go? Wasting time, wasting time. Time and distance are illusions to the soul, but to the ego, they are all too often our gods. Enjoy your week. Bye-bye.